In the quiet hours before dawn, when the world is wrapped in sleep and innocence, shadows gather like vultures on the wings of night. In Kebbi State, a school meant to be a sanctuary of learning, hope, and future is turned in one brutal moment into the epicenter of fear, loss, and heartbreak. 25 girls sleeping in their dormitories are torn from their beds, their laughter and dreams cut short by the local barrel of a gun. One staff member falls, another is wounded. Their abduction is not just a crime, it is a cracked mirror reflecting a deeper sickness in society. This is not an isolated horror, it is a recurring nightmare, a warning call, an echo of failures. Today, as we unspool this story, we must ask, how did we let our schools become hunting grounds? Who are the actors behind this menace? And what must we do now to reclaim safety, dignity, and our future?
Strength of Africa TV presents.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are at this moment. I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV, where truth meets courage, where the past is reawakened, and the future of the motherland is reclaimed. Today's episode is titled The Dawn Raid, Kebbi Girls School Abduction and What Lies Beneath. Let's start with what happened. The incident in the early hours of November 17, 2025. Gunmen armed with sophisticated weapons stormed the Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School in Maga, Danko Wasagu local government area of Kebbi State. The attackers opened fire, engaging with the school guards in a gun duel. By the time the dust settled, 25 female students had been abducted from their hostels. Tragically, Asama Kuko, a staff member, was shot dead. Another, Alishew, was wounded. In response, the police deployed tactical units, backed by military personnel and local vigilantes, to comb escape routes and nearby forests to rescue the girls. The state government confirmed the incident and dispatched leadership to assess the situation. Now let's examine the root causes. Why this keeps happening? First, banditry and insecurity in the northwest. Kebbi State, like several other northwestern Nigerian states, has been plagued by bandit groups. These groups often operate with impunity, exploiting weak governance, porous borders, and remote forests. Kidnapping for ransom has become deeply entrenched. Schools, isolated and purely defended, are especially vulnerable. Previous incidents in Kebbi are not new. For instance, in 2021, more than 80 students and staff were abducted from a school in Yauri, according to security monitoring reports. In February 2025, police killed 4 suspected kidnappers in Tundafari Forest in Kebbi during a rescue operation. 2. Structural failures and governance gaps. Local governments often lack the capacity and resources to provide adequate security for schools, especially boarding schools in rural areas. While the state government has in past incidents promised swift action, these promises frequently ring hollow. Intelligence gathering is weak. Many of these attacks are carried out with an inside knowledge of the terrain and school layouts, suggesting that networks may include informants or tacit collaborators. Thirdly, socioeconomic drivers. Poverty and deprivation fuel banditry. Many young men lacking opportunities are drawn into violent crime. Kidnapping yields high returns. Ransom money becomes a perverse economy. In some communities, bandits are not seen purely as criminals, but as local big men. Some wield local influence and may even provide patronage to communities, creating complex relationships with locals. Fourthly, historical neglect and a culture of impunity. Decades of security neglect have allowed banditry to become institutionalized. The pattern of abductions, even after previous incidents, shows a system that treats mass kidnapping as episodic problems rather than systemic crises. The slow pace of rescue and prosecution fuels cycle. When few perpetrators are brought to justice, the deterrent is weak. First, government responsibility. While the police and military did respond immediately to this incident, their reaction is often reactive, not preventive. The government has deployed tactical units, but the root security architecture around vulnerable schools remains weak. The state's public statements calls for calm, assurances are routine, yet the same pattern repeats. This suggests that political will may be superficial, aimed at managing optics rather than solving the crisis. Now, community complicity. In many rural and semi-rural areas, vigilant groups work with security agencies, but sometimes these groups are also embedded in local power structures and may have ambiguous loyalties. Local communities might, under duress or by necessity, cooperate with bandit factions, whether through bribery, informal pacts, or fear. Some community actors enable bandits to operate. There is also a social normalization. Repeated attacks desensitize communities. When abductions become what happens around us, resistance weakens, and the demand for accountability fades. Now, who are the actors and what is their intent? Who is behind these attacks and why? First, the bandit gangs. The immediate suspects are non-ideological armed bandit gangs, not necessarily Boko Haram or organized Islamist militants. Reports describe them as bandits rather than jihadi extremists. Their motivation seems economic first, ransom-driven kidnappings. Such gangs target schools because students are seen as high-value assets. Families, governments, or intermediaries may pay large sums. Also, network of informers and complicit locals. These gangs do not operate in a vacuum. The efficiency with which the escape fences plan raids at 4 a.m. evade immediate capture suggests some local intelligence, knowledge of terrain, routines, escape routes. There may also be corruption. Some local power brokers might collude with bandits to protect their own interests, whether financial or political. Also, political and psychological calculus. These attacks also serve as a statement of power. By abducting girls from a school, the actors challenge the Nigerian state's authority and expose the fragility of its institutions. And there is a terror dimension. Mass abductions terrify not just the immediate victims, but the wider public, eroding trust in government and security forces. Now, my family, let's examine what must be done. Here are concrete recommendations to address and hopefully stop this recurring nightmare. 1. Strengthen school security infrastructure. Deploy dedicated security personnel at boarding schools, especially in high-risk areas. This includes trained guards, not just local watchmen. Invest in perimeter defenses, high fences, lightning, surveillance systems, CCTV, and early warning mechanisms. 2. Improve intelligence and early warning systems. Establish community-based intelligence networks that are rewarded financially or socially for timely information about bandit movements. Use technology, drones, satellite surveillance, mobile phone tracking, while safeguarding civil liberties, to monitor likely routes and hideouts. Promote interagency collaboration. Police, military, local vigilantes must coordinate before attacks, not just after. A look at justice and accountability. Prosecute kidnappers aggressively. Ensure that when bandits are captured, they are tried, convicted, and sentenced. Publicize these outcomes to create deterrence. Crack down on corruption or collusion. Investigate and sanction any government or community actors aiding bandits, directly or indirectly. Also, socioeconomic interventions. Create alternative livelihoods, vocational trainings, jobs, and development projects for youth in areas with high bandit activity, address poverty and inequality in these regions, long-term investment in education, healthcare, and infrastructure to reduce the appeal of criminal enterprise, engage in de-radicalization and reintegration programs. Some bandits operate from ideology, but many from desperation, provide paths for them to exit crime. Now, community engagement. Empower local leaders, parents, students to demand school safety. Communities must not be passive victims. Launch public awareness campaigns, abduction risk, how to report, how to protect students. Support community-based peace building. Facilitate dialogues among local youths, community elders, and governments to address local grievances. Now, political will and national strategy. The federal and state governments need a national school protection strategy, not ad hoc responses. Increase funding to intelligence counter-kidnapping units. Engage international partners. Nigeria can learn from other countries struggling with school kidnappings. Technical support, training, and funding should be sought. Now, my family, a look at the human toll beyond the headlines. Behind the numbers, 25 girls abducted, 1 teacher killed, are real lives. Each girl is someone's daughter with dreams, ambitions, and a future. Their abduction devastates families, shatters communities, and rips at the moral fabric of society. The surviving staff member, wounded, now carries not just a physical scar, but a trauma that echoes every day. The psychological damage is profound. For the girls, the fear of captivity, the uncertainty of rescue. For parents, the agony of not knowing when their children are coming back. For the community, the guilt and shame of feeling powerless. In every such story, there is the anguished question, why us? And the broader one, why does our country let this happen? The abduction of 25 girls in Kebbi is more than a security breach. It is a moral indictment. It is a mirror held up to our society, showing the fractures in governance, in community, and in our resolve. But this need not be our destiny. We must not wait for the next raid, the next dawn attack to react. We must be proactive, demanding accountability, investing in prevention, and rebuilding trust. We must refuse to accept that our schools are battlegrounds. Instead, we reclaim them as spaces of growth, safety, and hope. To the government, show not just words, but action. To community, rise, speak, protect. To every Nigerian, stay vigilant, advocate, demand justice. Because if we do not act, we betray the very promise of our nation's future. A future in which every child, especially every girl, can learn, grow, and live free from fear. Let the rescue mission underway in Kebbi be not just a frantic run to bring back abducted children, but a turning point, a moment when we finally decide that this cycle ends. May those girls come home safely. May their voices never be silenced, and may Nigeria at last stand firm in defending its own. I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Watch out for the next episode. You don't want to miss it. Until then, tell your own story, because Africa's future is written in African ink. Stay rooted, stay bold, stay African. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye.